Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be Up to Speed episode 2. So I'm just going to take you through what I've been doing with the car lately and some of my plans for the future. In the last episode of Up to Speed, we had the engine out. We had a brand new firewall that had just been built. One side of the pushrod suspension was finished and the other side wasn't. So the first thing I've done since then is finish the other side of the pushrod suspension. So that's all finished now. Of course, we're still using the 3D printed bell cranks because we're going to wait till we get the final weight of the vehicle before we go and get those machined out of alloy. So the engine's in. It fits just how I imagined it was going to fit. I'll show you what it looks like around the back here in terms of clearance to the firewall. So you can see everything fits quite nice, plenty of space. I talked last time about how I'm going to be putting a lot of stuff where the passenger used to sit. Things like the fuel cell, dry sump oil tank, probably battery, ECU. A whole lot of stuff's going to be sitting in here. The way I've designed the firewall is I've got this little section, and I've got this straight section up here. That's where it's going to be a lot of my bulkhead connections. I've kept that sort of straight panel there so I can have all my oil lines, fuel lines and things running out of the one area. Just showing you that straight section there from the other side. So there's going to be a lot of AN fittings, bulkhead style, going through that part of the firewall. Once the front suspension was finished, then I moved on to focusing on the driver's seat, followed by the pedal box, and then the steering wheel, column, the whole steering assembly basically, besides the rack. Now you can see I've got the seat as far back as possible, and I've also mounted it as close to the center of the car as possible. So I'll just try and show you how hard up it is against the center tunnel. That's about as far as I could get it. The seat probably could have come back a little bit more, but I'm pretty happy with where it is. Obviously I bought this seat after I'd welded this part of the cage in, so I've got that as close to that as I could get it. I guess I could have taken that out and done that again, but I don't really think it's worth it, just to get a few more centimeters back. I'm pretty happy with that. So I've used an FIA seat mount kit from Racetech Seats. That just pretty much had to be all welded in. So everything is to the FIA spec. The next thing I did was the pedal box. So that was actually a really big job. And I did do a fabrication diary video on that. So if you want to see more on how I put that pedal box in, go ahead and watch that video. So you'll notice that it's sitting on a reinforced brace. Make sure that there is no flex at all when you're putting maximum force into that brake pedal. The steering linkage ended up being quite challenging. There wasn't a lot of room for it to make its way back to the firewall. It had to make its way over the turbo, so you can see it's pretty close. Now bear in mind, my steering rack actually has some height adjustment in it. So this rack can go up and down a bit to tune out some bump steer if needed. So I had to keep a little bit of extra clearance where that linkage goes over the turbo there. And then of course it had to make its way past the turbo manifold, but not too close if I can avoid it. Obviously there's going to be a heat shield as well, but you want to try and keep that away, that joint, as much as possible. But the biggest challenge was actually where it goes through the firewall. I had an initial idea which didn't quite work out, and then I had to scratch that and start again. So what you're looking at here is actually a bit of exhaust pipe. So mild steel exhaust. I can't remember the diameter. The reason I chose that was it gave me a good amount of freedom for the linkage to come through the firewall. So what I found was a Subaru CV boot that I had lying around as a spare part, fit perfectly over that exhaust pipe. So that's what I used to make a nice seal for the firewall where the linkage comes through. And then this is actually the collapsible section here. So all that's collapsible. So that's actually the original steering linkage that came on the Subaru BRZ in 86. And then I've got the original EPAS system mounted now under my dash to the roll cage. So I had to show you this bracket here. I made that one bracket there, which holds it from this side, and then on the other side, the original mount is also attached to the roll cage. So that's extremely rigid, not going anywhere. And then I've got this, I guess, steering column support bracket. People have asked me what brand it is, so hopefully you can see that. I have to say the bearing, so it's got a 3/4 inch bearing to support the shaft. The tolerances on that bearing were absolute crap, so I ended up going and buying a better quality one, because you don't want, no movement now. Ugh. So yep, that's made everything nice and rigid. So we've got the Lifeline quick release here, and then a titanium extender, and my steering wheel that I imported from Japan. So it took me quite a while to get the exact seating position, make sure everything's really comfortable. Can I turn the wheel as much as I want? Also, obviously with the pedal box, that had to be in the perfect spot. I have built in some extra mounting points, so this can actually move. These are 25mm increments, so it's got 3 positions. I can move the pedal box back and forwards. Obviously the seat has got some movement in it, but if I did want to go further back, I would probably have to remake this bar here because that's too close. So that brings you guys up to speed on what I've been working on lately. Let's quickly talk about what I'm doing next. So I've talked about some of this stuff before, so I won't go into great detail again, but I want to get a muffler now, so I know exactly what size the muffler is going to be. As I said before, the muffler is going to be sitting kind of in this region down here. And then once I've got the muffler, I'm going to start on the X bars in the roll cage. Make sure those are basically not going to hit the muffler and work well with the seat, and make it so it's still easy enough to get in and out of the car. I still don't have the main drive shaft that goes from the differential to the manual transmission, so I really need to get that. Make sure it's going to clear the tunnel, the transmission tunnel, because it might be a little bit too high up in the tunnel now that everything's been moved up in the chassis. So need to get that, and then I can put in the rest of the bars that support this rear cradle, and also the main diagonal in the roll cage. It goes above my head and then has the harness bar in it. So they're the main things I want to get done. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. It was just a quick video to let you know what I've been doing. If you do have any questions about what I've shown in this video, or anything about the car in general, please drop a comment below and I will do my best to answer all of them. And yeah, thanks for watching.